You're listening to Season 5 of the Three Angry Giant Fans and the Jet Fan podcast, where we detail the news and happenings of the Jets and Giants and talk about the highs and mostly lows that those teams provide us each week. We also tackle pet peeves and answer all listener questions. And in Season 5, we're kicking it up a notch. We have two new sponsors. The first is Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina, and the second is the gold standard of hairstyling butter, Rugged Uncle. Download our podcast at Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out our new website, www.angryfootballfans.com. Enjoy the podcast and go Jets and Giants.
They shouldn't have gotten off the plane back home if they lost that game to the Carolina Panthers, and yet they did. And that is as embarrassing a loss as it could possibly get for the New York Giants, who have sunk to yet another low.
We are officially at the lowest point in the history of the Giants. I think right now is the lowest point ever. Giants' pride is dead. I got news for everybody. You look at the great Giant fans and the energy and the passion for their team. It is slowly dissipated. It has been chipped away to a point where I believe there's almost more apathy than there is still certainly conviction and even hope for this team. I really think that. You've got no quarterback, right? And you've got an owner who too often this decade has proven clueless. And he's got a tough decision ahead. I think there's going to be a lot of change this offseason. I think that there should be. But big picture, everybody associates the Giants rock bottom with the 70s. This is it.
Well, that was BT and Sal from WFAN talking about Giants' pride eroding. It's dead. And that this could possibly be the lowest point in the franchise, surpassing the 70s. And guys, we're in that abyss right now where nothing's good, nothing's positive. The Giants just lost to the Carolina Panthers in Germany and did it in excruciating fashion, losing in overtime. So before we get to any of that, we are the Three Angry Giant Fans and Jet Fan. That's your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan, Novak. And Cardone, lowest point in franchise history? You probably agree with that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Even before the loss to Serper over in Germany, is I don't want to hear about the 1970s era of bad football for the New York Giants. We're in it right now. This by far supersedes that decade, and we're just on the cusp of remembering maybe the latter part of that decade. But because I don't really remember the early and mid 70s. I'm not that old, but we all it's always been just agreed upon that the 70s, that decade of Giants football was by far and away the worst ever. It wasn't possible to trump that in terms of badness. And we finally, as a fan base, we have to really agree that we are now currently in the worst era of New York Giant football in our lives. Absolutely, by far.
Yeah, certainly in our lifetimes. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, we've made a little bit of good business here about being bad, but this is, as Novak pointed out, this is rock bottom, man. You don't get any lower than this. Getting anything, this team getting anything but the number one pick in the upcoming draft would be a travesty. They're the worst team playing. There's no doubt about it. I still haven't figured out how, but how doesn't matter right now. They just are. They just are what they are. They're terrible and embarrassing and unlucky. Yeah, I mean, you name it. Just everything is going downhill. And if this team ends up picking sixth, I swear to God, I'm going to flip over a table.
I tell you, I want to replace the A with apathy instead of angry in our moniker. I mean, the apathetic Giant fans. I think we've joked around about that too, because that's what's happening. It's just becoming more and more numb to this, and this absolutely reduced to sawdust and desensitized by what's happening with this team week to week.
And that's what the opening. Go ahead, Novak.
I was about to say, like Mike said it, but like we were all together on Sunday, and I got in the car and I was driving home. And as soon as I got home, because I was thinking about the Giants on the drive home, and I texted you guys. I said, I think you guys have hit rock bottom. And as a Jets fan, I was feeling bad for you. That has got to tell you something about how I mean, you have lived off of this Giant aura for decades. And
Yeah.
even I will say, as a fucking Jets fan, it's gone. It's gone.
Gone.
I feel bad for you, which is hard to look at how bad my team is. And I watched you guys and it was like, man, this sucks for them. They suck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in the opening they touch upon this isn't just for us guys. I mean, guys like us that live and die each week on these outcomes, and we pour so much passion into this team. Think about the kid that's just growing up now. He's 10 years old. He's looking for a team. Who's choosing the Giants? It's tough. I mean, I think it was different back in the 70s. I became a fan during that 70s time frame when it was so bad. And it was more of a thing that my uncles, my dad, people like that, they were around a TV, they were rooting for a team, and it was almost like the lovable losers that they rooted for. And finally they became a success story. You don't have that same dynamic these days where you have 10 people in a room watching the game together as family. A lot of times you have people streaming the games individually. You have, people doing things on the weekends. I think it's really tough to build that core, hardcore fan in today's sports, in any sport, really.
Agree.
No question. And that has
lovable.
everything to do. Yeah, it has everything to do with just like you said, Scott, just the social media, just the way you watch games. There's so many other things to do. Like back when we were growing up at that age, I mean, it was Sunday football, NFL football, but there wasn't a lot of other outlets in terms of, sports spectating. And, you kind of just same thing. It was my uncle and my dad that were, Giant fans, and we were born into that family, and I loved every minute of it, even when they were bad, like we just talked about. But this day and age now, kids, I mean, yeah, the fair weather fan. I don't even want to call it a fair weather fan. It's just human nature. You root for the winners, man. This is why we grew up with all those Cowboy fans, right? This is why Cowboys became America's team. Let's be honest. That was happening, back in the 70s and at that era. So now, for my own kid, it's just different. And when we were growing up, it's just, the Giants have been bad. He doesn't remember. He was too young to really remember the last Super Bowl, even, just barely. But since then, they've been the worst team in the league, them and the Jets. So what are you going to grab onto? It's hard, man. It's hard there's too much to do than to watch a fucking team lose, 10, 11 games every year. It just is.
So we had an international game, obviously. We played in Germany against the Panthers, but with that came a record number of international listeners this week. So
Nice.
Wanted to give a
Right.
shout out because I think this is the first one from this country, and I don't know if it was a Giants fan that went to the game and then went to do some sightseeing up north a little bit more, but hello, Helsinki, Finland.
Wow.
It's the capital with a metro population of 1.6 million people, often rated as the world's most livable city. I don't know if that's just taken during the months of June and July, but it's the world's most livable city. It did host the 1952 Olympics. It was officially started to be called Helsinki in 1819. But the first settlers arrived in 5000 BC, so it could be our earliest town that we've had on the podcast. And 4 months of the year, the average temperature is actually below freezing.
Oh,
But it is the home of Teemu Selanne, who big hockey player.
yeah. And it's one of the
I
most
just love the
livable
name
cities.
Teemu. One of the most livable cities.
I don't understand that because it's like the sun won't rise there again until like May. Yeah,
How's that livable?
I don't know.
I mean, it's like 65 today and was pissed. That's too cold.
I don't. They're doing something right. I don't know.
So I don't know if that's someone that went to the game and then decided to hop up to Helsinki for a day trip or something. But Finland, we got some Finnish.
Right on.
It's actually it's appropriate to call them out because we are both of our teams finished.
Good one, Scott.
Finish.
All right.
All right.
We
You
are.
think it was someone in the EM50 assault vehicle taking the girls up to do some skiing? That's just a trip. We'll go up. We'll take the girls. It'll be fun.
It's Czechoslovakia. It's that'd be in Wisconsin.
Just don't call me Francis. I kill you. So earlier this week, Joe Shane had his press conference, which a lot of times the GMs do during the bye week. Didn't really say much, but what he did make pretty obvious is that Daniel Jones probably played his last snap as a Giant. Don't really have mixed feelings about that anymore because I think we've all realized we have to move on from Daniel Jones to get better. I do think there's some question on whether or not anyone other than Daniel Jones makes this team better, though. I mean, this team, I was talking about before we came on the pod, I was talking about Kirk Cousins. So I think in Falcons last year, they were 7-10. Desmond Ridder was a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is here. They're serviceable. They look decent, but they're probably a 9-8 team this year. So he gave them 2 wins. And I'm not sure what that buys you. They drafted Michael Penix. I don't know if bringing him in improves that. You still have to improve the rest of the team. And I do think we're on that trajectory. And I think what may happen here is the Giants will go quarterback and build the team around that still. So, continue to strengthen the offensive line. It was good that Evan Neal played well against the Panthers, one of the only bright spots in that game. But guys, Joe Shane, and people expect there to be massive news coming out of a press conference like this. There's never going to be massive news. Basically, what he didn't say is what people are clinging on to, and that's that Daniel Jones is out, and Daniel Jones is what people are hitching their wagons on as being the only reason that the team is losing. So still have a lot of work to do. Season's got 7 more games left. It'll be interesting to see if they go with Locke or DeVito from here on out. They probably have to deactivate Jones and just make those other 2 guys the starter and the backup.
Yeah. This is step 1. Yeah.
Yep. And it's, as we've all said now, we're going hard after that number 1 pick. So I still believe, and I might be one of the few, but out of the quarterbacks that we have that we're able to put on the field, that Daniel Jones gives the Giants the best chance to win. So I'm all for this. I'd rather it be DeVito because I think Locke's better from what I've seen. But yeah, I mean, it's over for Daniel Jones. And what's going to be a pet peeve coming up is everyone saying, we should have done this 5 years ago. We should have done this 4 years ago. I was right. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I don't really care, but it's going to be annoying.
So we are embracing the tank, though, and I think that's one of the things the 3 of us actually said, and Greg was there. So Cardone's brother was watching the game with us, and as was his son Cole this Sunday. But we were sitting there asking ourselves before the game, do we really want to win this game? Now, obviously, we wanted to win because we're in Carolina. We didn't want to lose to the Panthers, which is in itself embarrassing as hell. But would it have been any better had we won this game? And I don't think it was. I think this helped us leapfrog a bunch of other teams to get in better draft position. There's a lot of things that happened in this game that I didn't agree with. That Jones took a lot of blame for that flea flicker. Well, the flea flicker was called on a 3rd and 1 play where you just get the first down and move the sticks and you might get points in that drive. You're probably going to get points in that drive. A lot of things happened when they were down in the red zone that I thought was indicative less of Jones and more of the play calling and possibly the coaching. So you replace the quarterback, you still have some questions. At least I have some questions. It's funny going into this year. I thought one of the best quarterbacks coming in, I think I said this in the preseason pod, was that I thought Jaden Daniels is going to be the best of the group. Early on, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but for some reason, everyone's talking about Sanders. They're talking about Cam Ward. They're talking about these other guys. The guy I like that I've been watching is Milroe from Alabama. So I could be completely off base here, but the Giants are going to get a quarterback in the draft. And the funny thing is, everyone complained about the fact that they forced the pick for Daniel Jones and said, you don't do that. Now everyone wants them to force the pick for a quarterback next year, which you basically have to do. And I still think it's a crapshoot,
Well, at least it won't be a quarterback from Duke. So that, looking back,
shouldn't be.
That we should have. I think we were just so excited to enter a new era, of what we thought was going to be, better Giant football, with Barkley, after we drafted Saquon Barkley. But nonetheless, can I go back to the draft order thing, Scott? So my new favorite website, and I'm showing the webcam here, of course, which is going to be all blurry. So it's yeah, of course, it's Tankathon. So my brother brought this up, and it's a great website. It's for and it's not just the NFL; it's all the professional sports, and it shows your pick and your ranking order in real time, based on wins and losses. It provides the strength of schedule and all that stuff. So we're sitting at number 2 right now. The only team ahead of us is Jacksonville because they have a better strength of schedule. But we were definitely pulling hard, for the Giants to beat the lowly Panthers on Sunday. But then Novak, you said it best. And you're pissed off and you're in disbelief, of course, because you just lost to arguably the worst team in the league. But that's our position now, obviously, with being the worst team in the league. But 5 minutes after, I'm like, it's the best thing, because now the tankathon is on. As far as I'm concerned, me, you guys, Scott, Mike, you can do what you guys want. I am, fuck it, man. Fuck it. Lose the rest of the way. You could play Danny DeVito at quarterback or whoever you want to trot out there. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I just want these people out of my life. Daniel Jones, I was one of the guys that was defending him and backing him up because he played behind the worst offensive line in the league. But it doesn't matter anymore. He's got to go. I've seen enough of him. I'll take Sal Licata's approach and going all the way back to week 1 when he went ballistic on Jones, getting significantly outplayed by Sam Darnold. Well, you can arguably say Jones even got outplayed by Bryce Young on Sunday. I mean, if you want to look at just the stats, which doesn't tell the story all the time, but it's the Daniel Jones era. Took 6 years, but thank God it's going to be over.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I'm fully in on the tank. We'll see what happens in 2 weeks. I can't see myself rooting against the Giants during a game, but outside the confines of the game, I'm 100% in on the tank, which, by the way, is, I swear to you, brand new for me. That this is a new thing. This is what happens when you hit ground zero, right? This is it. I've not done this before. I've secretly wanted the Giants to win every game because I consider the draft to be a lottery, basically, where you might hit, you might not. It doesn't matter really where you pick. Some Hall of Famers have been picked not even in the first round. So, but I want the number 1 pick. I want a chance to turn the page. That's how you turn the page. And it's not just, I think this team is in a place where it's not just this year. We need a draft like we had between 79 and 81. We need to get Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor in a 3-year period. That's how you turn these things around. But this is step 1 of that. You gotta do this first. Let's Jones, and I agree, Scott, about the flea flicker, but the point of the matter is he had two wide open players and he had time to get the ball to him. Yeah. Stupid play call. I mean, really, I couldn't agree more, but it worked.
And I think I highlighted that more just to highlight the fact that everyone wants to pile on Jones and say Jones is the main reason that the team is losing. The team lost when Jones was injured before just as badly as this. It's not just him. And what throws into question to me is, Dable, I like Dable, but you have made this comment, and I think it's a funny comment because it's been applicable, and we've seen it with the 2-point conversions. Dable coaches this team like we're the Chiefs, and he did it on that play. He did it on several others, and I go back to if Coughlin or Parcells is coaching this team, what are they doing? They're going to run the ball down the middle, get the first down, move the sticks. And against a team like the Panthers, points are at a premium. You're going to kick field goals. You're going to take your points. You're not going to put the ball at risk inside the 20 and have turnovers. You're going to win that game. And to me, Dable coaches like he's got an all-star team. So when he doesn't have an all-star team, what's going to happen? Is this team always going to implode when that happens? Because we don't have an all-star team right now. We have a middle-of-the-road team, if that. We have a bottom team from the standing standpoint.
Yeah, and running these kind of intricate plays and everything, it's not even just that we don't have really the talent to pull them off, but how often do we just get a penalty on that play because nobody knows what the hell they're doing? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You just run the ball. You just run the ball, and Jones. We've said I can't quite put my finger on it, but the Panther game did open some eyes for me. I started to see some things with Jones, and it's like on the flea flicker's a good example. So he's got two guys open. He's got to throw the ball. It doesn't even matter if you overthrow. So you just got to get that ball out of there. Just at least then we could have gone for it on 4th and 1, which Dable probably would have done. And then the two plays that are interceptions. Scott talked about this during the game or not. There are two balls that didn't have to be thrown.
Yeah.
Both plays they weren't read plays where you have 3 options. They were the call. That was the call. That was the throw. That was the only throw. Neither one of them were anywhere near open. And Jones tries to jam it in there anyway. And in both cases, the ball gets picked off. Now, the circumstances of both those interceptions were off the charts lucky for the Panthers. I mean, just off the charts lucky. As we all know, no batted ball, no tip ball falls harmlessly to the ground against the Giants. But, hitting a guy in the helmet in such a way that the ball goes straight up in the air and just hangs up there. And the other one, the defender didn't even know he intercepted the ball. He's just trying to tackle the guy. He falls down. He's like, I got the ball. The oblong spheroid that is the football, the way it bounces against this team is unbelievable. And in both those cases with that play so completely blown up, throw it out of bounds, keep the ball and run it. Whatever you're going to do, but you can't do anything but try to throw it to the covered person. Anything. Take a knee. Is it better option?
I think the Giants are the most boring team in the league to watch during the season, but the most fascinating team once the season ends. And here's why. Let's say you're in the top 1, 2, 3, hypothetically, which looks like you're trending in that direction. If you keep Dable and Shane, you're not committing to them for one more year because you're going to draft a quarterback. You're committing to them for 2 to 3 more years, right? You're off alignment.
Absolutely.
You kind of want it to be clean house, no new coach, new GM, new quarterback, all at one time. That's the recipes for success. And you guys are off because I don't think that you're going to fire Dable and Shane. So you're going to draft a quarterback, and now their excuse is rookie quarterback. Those two are going to be around for 3 more years. And it's off. Something's off there. So I'll be curious to see what they do. I mean, if you go 2-15, how can you not fire a coach and a GM that has not done a good job with roster management and has a terrible record in their 3 years other than that one fluke year of 22? I find the Giants fascinating this offseason.
I think what I would do, if I'm the Giants, I think what I would do is, provided there's a really good candidate out there, I'd fire the GM and I'd bring someone else in, and I'd tell them, you decide if you want to keep Dable. That's your call.
Yeah.
Because, I agree that there's an ickiness about this team right now that I just want to take a shower and wash off. But I'm also not convinced that Dable is not a good coach. I think he probably is. I think he's got to learn that this, when you get across the 50 and down inside the 40, is not the time to get cute. Not at all. That's one thing that really bothers me about him. His dependence on analytics bothers me. But I think those are both things he can learn from, and going back over the year and saying, how did this thing get off the rails, and seeing those things, hopefully he's smart enough to come to that same conclusion. So I think I would fire Shane. What's it matter? It's a general manager. If there's a good candidate out there, fire Shane, hire him, and then say, if you want to bring in your own guy, I understand we got a new quarterback coming in. If you want to keep Brian Dable, then keep him. To Cardone's point, I don't really care.
At this point, I'm not ready to give up on Dable just yet. I think, however, if he continues to disguise himself as an NFL head coach when he's really fucking Santa Claus with the bifocals on, and he's looking at a handmade Christmas list from looked like it was from like he was reading off of a child's gift list, right?
He went to he had the yellow memo paper.
Had the yellow memo pad from 1982. Yeah. So if he continues to do that, I may change my opinion on that. But if I may, Scott, I was going to save this till the end if we have a question segment. I'm not sure if we have questions tonight, but we have
a few questions. Yeah.
Can I? But I think I want to get this one out now because I think it's something that I want to just get across. Just isolation by itself. Okay. So my new favorite statistics. These come out every week, guys. Right? As far as the futility of whether the team and how everyone sets their careers high against the New York Giants, whether it's rushing yards, passing yards, you name it. All these streaks that by the way, Chuba Hubbard or whatever, he got his career high. Some guy I never heard of who's running the ball for the Panthers. So I don't know if you guys saw this statistic, and this one is awesome. You want to talk about Daniel Jones and how he separates himself. So again, I don't know what other team is dealing with a starter for 6 years with the record he has and with the statistics he has. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many games? So Jones is obviously at the top of this list. The most consecutive games with less than 3 passing touchdowns. Active streak in the NFL, minimum, 5 whatever attempts per game. So Jones is obviously at the top of the list. Guess how many games Daniel Jones has gone? Now these are his games, not team games. I think games that he has started and played because he's only started, right? He never came. So how many games would you say Jones has gone without passing for at least 3 touchdowns?
25.
30 some.
Okay. Mike is barely closer than you. Like you guys are not even halfway there. Not even halfway there. I'll give 40? You one more guess, and then we'll start going so.
52.
Keep going.
What?
Anyone want to keep going? I mean, I don't want to drag this out, but I'll just say it. Jones has gone 57 games without throwing for at least 3 touchdowns. Now, there's more to it. So, yeah, you have to go back to December of 2019, the last time Jones had at least 3. He actually had 5 in that game against the Washington Redskins in December of 19. But really, so Jones at 57, there's 2 guys tied for second. Guess how many that number of games is. I'll give you the guys, but just guess the number of games. Who's what second place is?
32.
36.
18.
Mike is the closest. You got to keep going this way now in the opposite direction.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
I'm not. I'll just say 14 games, and that is held by Deshaun Watson and our boy Justin Fields. This is what we're talking about. Let's
57 to 14.
So Jones, 57 games. The next closest active quarterback, Deshaun Watson, who's disgusting, and Justin Fields. We don't have to say anything about him. 14. Think about that.
That's unbelievable. That's the best stat ever.
Is that awesome?
57 to 16.
14. Don't sell it short, 14. Novak. 57 to 14.
That's
the gap between first and second on that list.
Even Zach Wilson had a 3-touchdown game.
3-touchdown game. Maybe just by accident. I mean, and that's all the games the Giants have been getting blown out, trailing all the. You think just somewhere in there you just get some garbage touchdowns.
Yep.
Nope. I didn't even. I mean, you know how I love going through these stats, guys. I'm gonna have to maybe I'm not done with Jones because I may need to go back and look at how many games he has started where he had 0. It's got to be. It's off the chart.
Oh, there's got to be a ton because we've gone basically a long time since at Matt Death until he had a passing touchdown until I think 2 weeks ago.
But 57. What is that? 3.5 years? And now. Again, that's obviously games that he missed due to injury and whatnot. So but we're coming up. This guy hasn't had a 3-touchdown game in 5 fucking years. Come on.
Not in this decade, and we're halfway through the decade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. A 3-touchdown game.
Incredible stat.
That is incredible.
He is an enigma of a player, man.
Yep.
Because it doesn't.
Really is.
The product on the field doesn't look that bad.
Well,
No,
recently,
But
I think it does.
now it does, yeah. At the end of the day, though, he just doesn't get it done.
I was going to put that like in the question section. I wasn't sure how. I'm like, oh, I got to position this one. I was hoping you guys hadn't seen that stat, and you didn't.
I had not.
Is that?
That's
I
a
did the same
classic
thing.
right there.
It was posed to me like, I was doing the same thing. My first guess was Joe. I was like, I don't know, maybe like 20. I was guessing around the same, like I don't know, 28 games, something like that. Like, nah, keep going. Courtesy, this came from Greg, so he sent that to me the other day, and so.
Which, by the way, can I just quick for our listeners set the scene from Sunday? So, as the lone Jet fan, I sat back and let my Giant friends gather and congregate at Mike's house at couches that were like in a more of a almost like a U shape, right? And we had Cole, then Cardone, then Scott, then Mike, then Cardone's brother Greg, and they were more entertaining than the game itself by a million. Like, it was the greatest. And here's how. So it would be. I'll give you a sample play, like 3rd and 1, and the Giants don't convert. Cardone from left to right. Cole just shakes his head. Nothing. Never said a word. Cardone, what are we doing? Right. Then Scott, where's the flag? Mike, of course we can't convert. And then Greg was the question asker. Have you ever seen Novak? Have you ever seen a team this bad? It was the whole game long. That was the trend of every bad play. Over and over and over, repeated the whole game long. You guys were hilarious. We've got to get a pod just watching you guys watch the game. It was the best. And I would just try to like stir it up every now and then and throw out something to get you all fired up just to get a laugh out of it because the Giants are so fucking boring. It was the best. I gotta say.
But Greg has to do like his physical animation of Jones doing like a play
Oh
action.
my God.
That was so great.
In the middle of the living room.
And he would like go around the room and ask a new guy after every play, Mike, did you see that? How bad is this team?
That's so true. He was asking me, dude, what can you believe what we are watching right now?
Yeah. I think he was like to Mike's wife, Bonnie, can you believe how bad this team is?
We
Bonnie,
can't go
who is
one
Chubba
play
Hubbard?
with we don't we analyze we can't go a single play without analyzing whether it doesn't matter what side of the ball. No. Every single play.
God, I was laughing the whole game long. I had the best time because you guys are hilarious.
Oh man, that's the fun part.
I loved how Greg was negative before and after every play.
every play.
But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, Tracy, 33-yard touchdown right here.
Yes.
And it happened.
He did say that.
On that play.
Yeah.
He's got a history of doing that somehow.
He went positive for exactly one play, and he was right.
So the Giants lost in excruciating fashion. And then in the 4:00 game, Novak had to watch the Jets be non-competitive against the Cardinals. And you watched Kyler Murray run wild. The stat that amazed me about the Cardinals, and I have Trey McBride on a couple of my fantasy teams, and the guy has been money this year. He doesn't have a receiving touchdown this year.
He doesn't?
Does not.
Well, he was ripping up the Jets defense all game long, so I don't know how he doesn't. Yeah, look, I think like BT and Sal in the opening, or I don't know if we used the one, but they said, what a disgusting display of New York football. I mean, look, the Jets have been the bottom feeders for decades, other than a few, great years here and there. Collectively, this is just disgusting. And we had to sit through the travesty of the Jets at 4:00. Didn't show up, didn't care. Poor tackle, 20 missed tackles. 20.
Oh.
Led the league this year in this game. 20 missed tackles. Soft Gardner missed the biggest tackle of the game. I'm not calling him Sauce anymore. He doesn't deserve a nickname. He's Soft Gardner or Ahmed, one of the two, it was completely overrated. Breece Hall, who I do like, he is a detriment to when he is in on pass protection. Might as well just, the quarterback's going to get sacked. Just completely terrible. The Cardinals just up and down, up until the halftime, they had 3 touchdowns and a field goal, and the only reason they didn't get a 4th touchdown was because they ran out of time. They couldn't stop shit the whole game long. They didn't show up. This team is completely overrated. I said it last week. Remember? I said, because they beat the Texans, all of a sudden everyone's like, can the Jets make the playoffs? No! This team sucks! Stop it! They're awful. They're a garbage. They're worse than the Giants because they have more talent, no disrespect, much more talent than the Giants, and they still suck. They're just a disgrace. Season's over, and then Dick is talking about, well, we got to get back. We got to work harder. Stop.
No, man.
Now you're going to work harder in practice. You're 3-7, whatever you are. Season's over. And we are in a worse situation than you guys 10 times over. It's just disgusting what I got to watch, and I can't watch this team anymore. I can't do it. Tired of them. Just sick. Another losing season. I'm so fucking over it.
I use the Jets as a cautionary tale to those people that say that Daniel Jones is the only reason the Giants are losing. It's like, okay, you had Zach Wilson in New York, sign a quarterback, draft a quarterback, whatever. You still might have the same results if other shit doesn't go right. And the Jets bringing in Devontae Adams and getting rid of Mike Williams, who then goes ahead and has a game-winning touchdown for the Steelers.
Oh, of course he did.
But I mean, just all these things happen, and it's just our luck as New York fans to have them backfire on us.
Well, look, I mean, this year was Devontae Adams, right? Not Mike Williams, right? We get rid of him in the middle of the year. He's no good. We get a 5th-round pick. Last year, you know who that was? McCole Hardman. Who caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl? McCole Hardman. Like, it is the stuff continues to happen every year, and next year it'll be Devontae Adams. He'll be stuck with us with his massive contract. We'll trade him next year for a 6th-round pick, and he'll go to the Rams and have 7 touchdowns in a playoff game. Like, I can't take it. Every year it's something else with this fucking team. Every fucking year, it's disgusting. And we are in the pits of hell because where are we going to go from here? Who the hell is going to want to coach this team? We're in a salary cap nightmare. We've got 30 expiring contracts. We've got a bunch of our rookies coming off of out of their rookie contracts. We got to start paying now. No one who wants this job.
Yeah,
I'm just over it.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that, Novak, before we came on. I was thinking, like, all right, the Giants, like we think we have a decent coach still with Dable, but for the Jets, like, where do you guys go? You shit canned our boy Saleh. And now, so now what?
Because you can't, because the up and coming coordinator route is done. You can't. The Jets can't win with that. So you've got to bring someone in who has a little bit of credibility. But who's going to want that job? No one's going to want to take this team over. You don't have a quarterback to speak of. You got a shit culture, a bad history, a bad owner. No one's going to want this job. So we've got to go 2 directions. You got to go for a proven coach who just wants any job, and that's Rex Ryan or John Gruden. Other than that, I don't see anyone else that fits that bill.
It's going to have to be an old retread guy. It's going to have to
Vrabel's not going to.
Right.
Vrabel wouldn't go near this job with his connection to Belichick. Belichick is going to tell him, don't go near that godforsaken franchise. Get away from that. Take any team but that. So it's going to be Gruden or it's going to be Rex Ryan. Because no one else wants this job.
Rex Ryan.
One thing we did not mention is that we found our new Saleh on Sunday, and even Greg threw his hands up, or he basically his gag reflex kicked in, because every 5 seconds Dave Canales was on the TV, and every time we saw him and we wanted people to drink, Cardone's brother was getting shit-faced by the second quarter.
Couldn't do it anymore. Can't keep up with it.
Can't.
What is it with the production guys showing the coaches every goddamn play?
And as the Jet fan, I'll say it. It's because they're good-looking guys, and they got to get the female viewership in there. That's why they're showing Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, and this guy on every fucking play.
Got to be.
Canales. There's no other reason for it, because Dable wasn't on there half the time that Canales was, and no one even knows who Canales is. I barely know his name.
Well, I loved Greg's comment. He's like, "Who is this guy?"
Exactly.
We weren't even calling him Canales. We're going Saleh.
It'll always be Salah, by the way.
Yes, it is, which is the greatest ever.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a great thing about that game. No matter who the dude is,
Yeah,
you have to
it's Salah.
say Salah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Giants have a bye week this week. Not much to speak of. But the Jets have the Colts. Anthony Richardson has been reinstalled as the starter. Thoughts on that game, Novak?
It's his get right game.
Oh,
I'm not kidding you. It's his get right game.
He's borrowing from us.
Well,
you don't get to take that. You don't get. That's a Giants thing. The Jets do
No.
not get to take this from us.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. But I'm doing it as a player get right game, not a team get right. You are the team get right game, just so you know. But I think this is the get right game for Anthony Richardson. This team is fractured. It is broken. There's no culture. The dick has ruined and torpedoed this whole organization. I don't envision any type of success. I want them to lose at this point. Screw it. Just I hate them. I do. I hate them. I don't like them. I hate them. I can't stand watching them. I don't even know that I want them to lose. I want them not just lose. I want them to get just blown out. 45-0. Just get destroyed. Let the dick get sacked 100 times. I don't care. I'm over it. And who wants to watch the Jets and the Colts? This was supposed to be Sunday Night Football, don't you know?
Yeah,
And they
that's
flexed
right.
it out.
Oh,
Thank
that's
God.
Right.
What is
Thank
the Sunday
God.
night game now? What did they replace it with at least?
Anything but this game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't actually know who they flexed it out.
I gotta
with,
look. I have it here. Hang on.
You know, it
Uh,
was the Sunday night
yeah.
game, so they could break out the Namath references ad nauseum in the game, which
Oh,
they'll
the
do
Jets,
anyway.
Colts. Yes, I
Yep.
know. Thank God
Yep.
they're not doing
Yeah. Oh, I
that.
think it's.
The
here.
guarantee would be there.
Yeah, yeah.
They
it's,
played like
yeah.
50 years ago, and they were in the same division for like 20 years, and they still talk about a game
Yeah.
in 1968.
Bengals Chargers. They flexed into Sunday night.
Bengals Chargers.
Yeah.
Which I won't
Better-
be watching. That's
Better than
another
Jets Colts.
bore
God.
fest.
Yeah.
Better than Jets Colts for sure.
So, Mike, I'll turn it over to you for predictions since we only have one game this week.
Well, I thought I'd do something a little different this week. We're going to
Yes.
predict it. We're going to predict another game,
Uh-oh.
like a bonus pick game. So I will throw that one out there too, just to keep two picks going. And we'll have to do that next week too, right, Novak? The Jets are on a bye next week. So everyone went 1-1 this week. So nobody moved. The records, as a reminder, are Novak and Scott Cost 12-8, Mike and Cardone 11-9.
Yeah.
And
gross.
so we still start with Novak. He's held that position the entire season. So the bonus game, Novak, is going to be Washington at Philadelphia for the bonus game.
Mm.
So you can start wherever you'd like.
That's the Thursday night game, isn't it?
It is tomorrow
Yeah.
night. That's right.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to need I can't talk and speak or think and speak at the same time. But so I'm going to go with the Jets first. I just kind of gave it up there. I think this team is broken. I don't see them turning this around. I said and I promised that if they lost to the Patriots 3 weeks ago, that I would not pick the Jets again this year. So I don't know that I can do that after I said that. So I'm going to take the Colts here, only because I just don't see the Jets rebounding. They're in a spiral like nothing else. And I'm going to take the Colts here 24-17. Washington and Philly. So I didn't have time to think about this. You guys are all thinking about this game right now. But I think Washington is one of those teams that gets off to a hot start. They've got this great quarterback, and the whole league is, salivating over Jaden Daniels. But at the end of the day, I think the Eagles are still the more talented team, even though I can't stand them and I can't stand Sirianni. But I think because they're at home, I will take them in a very close game, 31-28. Because they are at home, right?
They are.
Philly's
It's in
at
Philly.
home, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Scotty.
only play. Yeah, I'm sorry. They only play primetime games at home, Novak. So just as a note, Eagles,
So
they're
yeah.
not on the road in primetime. So yeah, just
Yeah.
go ahead, Scott. Yeah.
So I'll start with the Jets game. Look, Novak said it earlier. The Jets have more talent than Giants. The Jets have more talent than the Colts. The Jets have more talent than Houston without, several of their key players when they played. I picked the Jets in that game. And with Anthony Richardson coming back, this is an unpopular topic probably for Colts fans. Joe Flacco gives the Colts the best chance to win the games. And so with him not being in there, I think Anthony Richardson will struggle. I think the Jets win this game. I do think the Jets have a lot of problems, but they still have the Dick, they still have Devontae, they still have, playmakers. They have Garrett Wilson. They have guys that can get in the end zone. And when that happens, you're still going to have a chance to win every game. And although the Jets look terrible against Arizona, I think they turn it back around. And to me, I think the Jets the rest of the year are going to be this Jekyll Hyde team. They're going to play good one week, probably bad the next, good one week, bad the next. But I see them winning this game, and I don't see it being particularly close. I see them winning 21-10. And in the Washington-Philly game, guys, I wanted to bury Philly this year. I thought Philly would come out and underachieve. They have not. Hurts looks like he's got things together. Sirianni's actually dialed down the douchiness in the last few weeks. Saquon stayed healthy. Their defense is getting better as the season goes on, which is scary, even though Slay was out this past week. They've overcome injuries earlier in the year, and Philly's offense just continues to roll. Now, last year, it inexplicably just broke about this time during the year. No one knows why. And things went south from there. That could happen again, but I don't know what that reason was. I tend to agree that maybe Daniels is starting not getting figured out, but that the Redskins are starting to come back down to earth. And so I also agree with Novak that the Eagles are going to win this game. I think it's going to be an exciting game, much like the last Thursday night game, which we'll talk about in the around the league. And I think they win this game 27-24, probably on the last second field goal.
All right. I will start with the Colts and Jets, and I really agree with Scott's analysis of the Jets there. I think they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. I think they're up and down. I think the Colts just benched, as Scott said, their best chance to win any game. Richardson is going to struggle. He's not good. If you say it's your get right game, he hasn't. We don't know what right is for him yet. He's never been right. He's not looked particularly good. I guess he'd finish up the year all right at the end of the year. But I think this game's going to be ugly, and it's going to be close. And it's probably one of those games that goes into the fourth quarter, like 7-6 or something. And but I think the Jets do pull this one out, late touchdown, win the game 13-10. Washington and Philly. I've also picked Philly here. I think if you look at both teams and you break it down, Washington's X factor is their quarterback, who's a rookie. Philly's X factor is Barkley, who's not a rookie and plays very well. I think Philly's X factor is better than Washington's. So I have the Eagles winning that 25-19. And I'll mention this about Barkley too while we're here. And it shows up this year again with Malik Neighbors. One thing the Giants do really bad is preserve their players. Like when we had Barkley, he was like, 85% of our offense or something. It's on the field for 99% of the plays. The Eagles have him toned much, much further back than that. He's on the field between any given game, between 50 and 70% of the plays. He's a decoy a lot, not a big percentage of the offense runs through him. And that's exactly how you should handle a Saquon Barkley. And the Giants just feel like I've got to get the ball in this guy's hands every play. It doesn't matter that the defense knows it's coming. He gets hurt every year in week 8 because they do that. We're doing the same thing to Neighbors now. At least we did the first 2 weeks. We haven't seen much of him since he's been back, but now potentially he's hurt again. So Yeah, that's just a side comment on Barkley. Cardone.
I'll start with the bonus game, which is I'll take them in order. So that's the game tomorrow night. Washington has like a recent history of, for some reason, playing well against Philly. If you guys remember, they were the team that went into Philadelphia. I think it was a couple years ago, and knocked the Eagles from the ranks of the undefeated, like somewhere 8 or 9 or 0 the Eagles were, and there were talks of them going undefeated, and Washington was the team to go in there and knock them off. So they seem to always rise up against the Eagles, but this is one of those games where huge turning point in the NFC East division standings, and I don't think the Washington Redskins are ready to take control of this division at this point in Daniel's career, or I think the Eagles go on to win the division. So if they're going to do that, of course it's going to be one of those teams, because we know Dallas and the Giants are obviously cooked. So I think Philly goes on to win the division. I don't know how that's going to obviously pan out the rest of the way, but this is a key game in terms of the division standings, and I think the Eagles take this and kind of put themselves in the driver's seat and may not give up the lead in the NFC East the rest of the way. So huge game, and the fact that it's in Philly, I think, is a little bit too much to overcome for Washington on the road. So give me the Eagles 31-23, and then Jets Colts. God damn, not much to. I was thinking about this before we came on. Like, how do you even talk about this game? It's like
so bad.
It's funny. I'm kind of. I wanted to go. I wanted to go Novak's direction and say, how do you pick the Jets to win? But then when I saw the announcement that the Colts were plugging in Richardson, I'm sorry, I had to flip it and say that's a big mistake. I think it's a mistake. For no other reason, just that we know how this guy took himself out of the game a couple weeks ago, and it's a gross game, two gross teams, Met Death Stadium. There'll probably be like an isolated cloud over the stadium where the
rain all day.
The rest of the East Coast will be sunny, but the Jets and Colts will be playing in the rain or some shit, or at Met Death. Give me the Jets with just a weird score. I'll go 19-12. So bunch of field goals and maybe some missed extra 2-point conversions, extra points, some shit in there. So yeah, give me the Jets and Eagles.
By the way, I gotta give Novak props. He's decked out as an ECU Pirate today. He's got the hat on. He's got the cup. He's representing.
They're the only team I have left that has any chance to do shit. They're 5-4 and can get And we talk about college football. It means a lot for a mid team to get into any kind of bowl. So if they win this weekend, they are bowl eligible. My daughter's a junior there, so I'm a ECU fan.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good point too. Last year at this time, I had Michigan rolling. I had at least something to be happy about.
Yep.
I do want to see how the lesser bowls fare with the new playoff. Like, will the Pinstripe Bowl survive? Will the Mayonnaise Bowl or whatever they have, all those bowls, will they still survive as we go along?
Honestly, and I've said this before on this pod, it makes a difference for the second tier schools to get a bowl game.
It's big for Syracuse. I know that.
Yeah. So ECU would travel well. They would absolutely be thrilled to go to any bowl. So one more wins. That's why I'm wearing this hat, for good luck.
Yeah. So we touched upon earlier around the league. We were talking about the Chiefs still being undefeated. Guys, I know the Chiefs are undefeated. They are one of the weakest undefeated teams I've ever seen this late in the season. And it's funny because, Novak brought up the blocked field goal at the end. Well, all I heard after that, and they might have actually said on the broadcast, I know they said it later, but they were like, Mahomes always finds a way. So did he find a way to somehow block the field goal from the bench? I don't know what this team and what happens with them. It's so infuriating as an NFL fan, because whether there's hijinks going on or not, you're artificially this team's artificially undefeated because they already had 2 games decided by referees. Now we got a block field goal and we're giving Mahomes credit for this? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, Cardone said it best when we were together. He was like, I don't even get the the stuff I don't care about to win. Like I just want the Chiefs to lose.
Oh yeah, just the neutral stuff.
The
Yeah,
neutral
just
stuff.
yeah.
My Jets suck. Fine. Can I just have? Can the Chiefs just lose? And they don't. They're undefeated.
Yeah.
And they're winning games on blocked field goals. Like I have no enjoyment whatsoever in this sport left.
No, I'm hoping that the Bills just knock the snot out of the Chiefs this week.
Same.
I mean, that's a great 4:25, late Sunday afternoon game. I'll be watching that one, and just pulling for the Bills, like a lunatic because I just wanted to see the Chiefs just get humbled by a good Bill team up there in Buffalo, and stop this bullshit of this team going undefeated because they do not resemble an undefeated team at this point in the season. They don't.
No.
No,
they have one win over one score, and that was against home against New Orleans.
Yep.
And that was just 13.
And think about the narratives that are created through this. So every time they win, it's all about the Chiefs' grit and their destiny and this stuff that happens. No one ever really talks about the underlying factors of bad calls and things like that. We saw it too with the Lions game. So the Lions played the Texans. Goff threw 5 interceptions and the Lions won. And there was a lot of shady stuff that went on in that game. And in the aftermath, the Lions just overcome mistakes. Well, you know what? The Giants aren't allowed to overcome mistakes because when you do bury them, you bury them so that they can overcome them with bad calls and things like that. With the Lions, it's almost like you manufacture this stuff. And I hate to say it because I don't think the NFL is rigged as you would traditionally think of it, but it takes more and more on like a WWE event or something where someone comes off the top rope and he nails someone, and this becomes the talking point. I mean, he's hurt, he's got a hurt hamstring, but he's going to do the suplex anyway, and he comes away with it, and he's got a pin, and that's basically what it resembles when you see the Lions win a game like that.
Yeah.
The narratives feel pre-written sometimes. And you know what it's like? It's like, in the NBA, there were the Jordan rules, right? So in the NBA, it wasn't so much a team, it was a player. In the NFL, I don't think there's any denying it anymore, really, that we have teams that play by the Jordan rules.
Yep.
In the NFL. They're kind of allowed to false start. They get the benefit of the doubt on any contact on a deep pass. Particularly on third down.
Yeah.
You can't deny these things. It's way too out there now to see. And, the reason the narrative has to be that, Scott, is because the NFL has the fear of God in anybody to even talk about the officials. Oh. And I'll give them that. If the announcers went around and the players and coaches were allowed to say things all the time, it would come off snarky. If the announcers were always allowed to, plus it would ruin the integrity of the league, which I think to most of us who watch the league for a long time and have seen what's gone on in the last couple of years, the league is ruining its own integrity. Mm-hmm. But if you just allow the refs to get bashed from every direction every week, which they would, you're kind of hurting your own product. And I was going to talk about something similar in a pet peeve, but I've got others. But, it comes out through all that stuff with Brady a couple weeks ago that it's in his contract that he's not allowed to say anything bad about officials during the broadcast. It's written into the contract. So, when these guys do, it's got to be really bad because some of them do from time to time, but they're risking breach of contract. I don't think if there's one person who's not afraid of the NFL, it's Tom Brady, but yeah, it's bad. The league's at an all-time low as far as integrity goes anyway.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that gets me, and I wanted to bring up the Bengals-Ravens game because it was a Thursday night game. Again, it's on Amazon, so not everyone watches these games. Not everyone's going to watch the Washington-Philly game that's coming up tomorrow night. That Bengals-Ravens game was probably the best game of the week. And during that game, it was a slugfest, teams going back and forth. Half the nation did not watch it. Half the football fans did not watch that game. And at the end of the game, you know, the Bengals made sort of a controversial decision. They went for two after scoring a touchdown instead of trying to tie it and go to overtime, and they failed on the 2-pointer and they lost the game. Similar to what the Giants would have done had they been in the same situation. Um, but that being put aside, a great game like that and a Thursday night game should not be confined just to a network that people don't have access to, just like these Peacock games.
Yep. Agree. I watched that game and it was a great one. And I thought the same thing. Like, this is the game that this should be Sunday night or Monday night, not this bullshit. If you want to put the Jaguars and Titans on Thursday night, fine. Just to have something on a streaming network. But to your point about the going for two, that is the example of when you should go for two. It was up and down all game long, high scoring, on the road, go for the win. That is when the 2-point conversion is supposed to happen, not when you're down 2 scores and you're trying to get to only 13 points down instead of 14. Like that is the reason. Stop with this analytics bullshit. That's the time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Novak. I love the call to go for two there.
I did too.
Absolutely.
On the
loved
road
it.
too. Yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
Got to do it. And it's high scoring. You've got a good offensive team. You're not the Giants.
Right.
Don't go for two there.
Right.
You actually know how
Giants,
to convert one of those occasionally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Giants might actually like given the Ravens an extra 2 points.
Yeah. Have it picked off in return for a 2-point.
We got to get Darren on this one, Darren the intern. I would love to go back. I think they started the damn 2-point conversion in the NFL like in '94 or something like that. It was definitely like mid-'90s, I think. So I'm going back like that long. I would love to know the Giants conversion rate all fucking time and where we are in the NFL all time, because our history of 2-point conversions and converting, the league average is usually, I think it's been going up a little bit. It's usually like around 51% now. It used to be even whatever it is. How are the Giants even like 35%? I mean, when do we convert 2-point conversions? When? Right? I'm talking about all time.
At this point.
I would love to look that one up. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I'll find it. I'll find that stat.
So we have an interesting situation too in Chicago because Chicago just fired their offensive coordinator, Caleb Williams, who earlier in the year was getting accolades for his play in week like 3 and 4, the only 2 weeks he probably played well. He's coming under fire now. Matt Eberflus is coming under fire. And the funniest thing I saw earlier was Caleb Williams actually it was after he was drafted. He texted the punter of the Bears and he said, "Guy," he goes, "you're not going to have to play that hard this year. I got you." Through so far in the season, Williams has 2,021 yards passing, and Taylor, I think his name's Torrey Taylor, has 2,158 yards punting. So he has out-punted Caleb Williams, and he's been on the field a lot. I don't know where this is going, but what I will say is this, that having that number 1 pick and picking Caleb Williams, and this is a dilemma the Giants are going to have to face going forward, it's not an immediate fix. It may not be even a long-term fix. Caleb Williams is not looking like he's any better than Justin Fields.
Honestly, I think this is another example of the stars don't align, because I think that when you have to if you're going to rebuild, you got to go quarterback, coach, GM all at the same time. Now they're off kilter. They're off schedule. They've got Williams, but they've got a coach who's a dead man walking, and a GM who's probably dead man walking. And now they're going to bring in another coach, and now it's going to have to start all over again. And this coach is going to say, "I didn't draft this Williams guy." Like, to be successful in this league, one of two things has to happen. One, everything's got to happen at the same time, or you've got to draft a quarterback, he's got to sit, and then you bring in the next coach and GM combo. I think the Bears are in a tough spot, much like the Giants and the Jets are just in a shit scenario, because same exact thing. We're just off. Nothing's working in the right tandem. You look at the Chiefs, that's how it has to happen. Proven coach, let the quarterback sit for a year, learn under Alex Smith, and then you run and look what these guys are doing. I think the Bears are there.
And I got a kick out of this because we talk about Mike Tomlin on this podcast a lot and how this guy just doesn't get the due he's deserved. So, the Steelers are having a great season. I think they're 7-2. They just beat the Commanders, and everyone's talking about Russell Wilson now. The first few weeks of the year, everyone was talking about Justin Fields. And after Justin Fields got benched for Russell Wilson, everyone's talking about Russell Wilson. I heard the term, what was it? Russell-sance instead of Renaissance today, according to Russell's play. Why is no one talking about the fact that Tomlin is the one consistent thing over the last 2 decades on why the Steelers are good year in and year out?
Yep. Nope. Can't talk about it. I don't know why.
Don't know either.
Don't know why. He's got 2 quarterbacks on his roster that were pretty much most of the NFL fans, media, everyone agreed their careers were over. And he's mixed and matched them based on basically an injury and then how he felt. And they're 7-3. So
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
No, I'm sorry, Mike. 7-2. They're
7-2.
And the reason why I mentioned that, and both their losses were only by 3 points.
Yeah.
They lost to Dallas. If you guys remember, like on a Monday night, I think it was on a fourth down, last play of regulation. They lost that game.
Yeah.
And they have a 3-point loss to the Colts
this week.
So this team is more undefeated than the Chiefs. The Steelers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you asked a really good football fan, name 10 Steelers, they couldn't do it.
Oh.
They couldn't. But
I don't think I can name 10 Giants.
It's just unbelievable what this guy does. And we called it in the beginning of the year. I would give anything for that guy to be my coach. Anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no
I'd throw a paycheck at him.
Totally.
You guys got anything else from around the league?
Just that, we were talking. I was going to jump on this when we just brought up the Bears a moment ago. So, remember a couple of weeks ago I brought up how the Saints were firing, their head coach, and the Vegas Raiders were firing 3 guys. And these are 2-win teams. These are teams that don't have any aspirations. So the Bears, with a rookie quarterback, they have 2 more wins than the Giants do. They would have been 5-2 a couple weeks ago if that jackoff wasn't facing the wrong direction on the final play. And they go and fire their OC, and we just sit around like just dickwads, still not firing. And I'm not saying that's the answer or anything, but at least again, here we go again, another team firing people. And we refuse to do anything. We just lost to the Carolina Panthers, who, oh, by the way, I just saw this as we're talking here, have a point differential worse than the NFL at minus 143. The next closest team are the Titans and the Raiders at minus 83. So we lost to a team that has 64 points in the loss differential category. And we're losing to this team, and we're not firing anybody. But the Bears go out and fire their offensive coordinator because they haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 23 straight drives, and we'll just put up 3 points against New England Patriots. But we just sit around with our just our thumbs up our asses like losers that we are.
Yeah. Well, the average Panther game, anytime you leave your house or turn on the TV, the average Panther game this year is a 13-point loss.
Yeah.
That's just
that's who we lost to.
They are. Yeah.
That's what we lost to.
If I missed this, Cardone, that's on me. But Dennis Allen got fired the week after they played the Panthers. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Yes. With New Orleans. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
so New Orleans fired their head coach.
That is the barometer for getting fired. You lose to the Panthers, you get your ass fired the next day.
That's it.
Yeah.
But the Bears are, they were playing really well up until seriously, up until that Hail Mary, they would have been 5-2. And they just said, no, fuck this. We're not, we haven't scored a touchdown on 23 drives. You're gone. We'll get somebody else. We'll get someone else in here. Sense of urgency, some sort of zero tolerance where we're not taking this bullshit. It's agonizing, guys. It's agonizing. At least do something. I don't care. Not that it's going to save this season or anything. Just show that you have some life.
Yeah. Like fire the offensive quality control coach if we have one of those. Just something.
Assistant to the traveling secretary. Fire his ass. I don't. Somebody.
Costanza, goodbye.
Costanza.
Sorry,
Bring
George.
Your playbook. Go do
So
some
actually,
hand modeling.
You should be firing.
Go do some
your,
hand modeling. Get out of here, dude. Yeah.
Get rid of your strength and conditioning coach, who apparently you can't keep a kicker or a punter healthy for the whole year.
Yeah. Our trainers are
Doesn't that say
employed,
something?
We never mentioned this in the game throw, but Graham Gano comes back from an injury and he promptly pushes a field goal
no doubt
to the side that would have
course.
won the game for us had we converted on that earlier.
Yep.
I honestly think you guys are the only team in the league that has multiple injuries from kickers and punters.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm sure of it, actually.
And you want to talk about an unnoticed thing? It's not unnoticed to our living room, I'll tell you that, or to Greg Cardone. The Scottish asshole, that Scottish hammer, whatever his name, Jillian. I mean, this guy is still slogging out 38-yard punts out there, an NFL kicker, week after week, year after year, and it absolutely doesn't even get sniffed by the New York Giants. Nobody. It doesn't get. This guy, he's horrible. When do you see this guy just bang a 59-yarder?
That Hawk was actually pretty decent. Hawk seemed to kick some punts that were pretty good.
We bring Gillian back, and this guy, I mean, he is absolutely, I can't look at him.
He's got great hair, apparently.
Oh, Christ. We're just losers. Losers, man.
So, speaking of great hair, Justin Herbert, you magnificent bastard with awesome hair. You only have one playoff game under your belt, and you lost that, but it might change this year. But there's something different. It could be Jim Harbaugh, or maybe, just maybe, it is Rugged Uncle. The premier styling butter in the market today, that butter keeps your hair flowing like an NFL god. Playing the Jets rather than a greasy mop when the Sharks fought the Jets in West Side Story.
West Side Story.
Yeah, West Side Story. So that well-balanced luster makes even the fake Chargers fan shake her fist in ecstasy, if you remember her from last year. Nourish your hair and beat those Chiefs, for Christ's sake, and look damn good and smell like mango while doing it. Be like Justin, guys. Beat the Chiefs. Well, if you can't beat the Chiefs, just go to ruggeduncle.com today. Enter Angry Fans as a code and get 20% off your order. Stay relevant, unlike that fake Chargers fan who has anyone seen her since last year?
No, she might show up on another team.
Gone.
Yeah, she's done.
She's also a Dolphin fan too, don't forget.
Yeah.
That was the biggest. You know what I love about the internet? I love the internet for those kind of things, and it susses out completely fake shit. Like no one believed that person was a fan in real time. And next thing you know, they got her whole backstory of her being a fan of a different team. That was fucking awesome.
It's awesome.
That's good. God, the NFL has just dropped to incredible levels, haven't they?
we got Justin Herbert as our newest Rugged Uncle. You're adding him to the list of
I
our
added him to the list.
Current Rugged Uncles. I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I can see that.
Finally, the Chargers are relevant. Maybe he's going to make the playoffs this year again. He might get a win. I think it's more about Harbaugh, but let that hair flow.
Yeah,
he might be a Rugged Uncle, user. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Cardone had a really good nickname this past weekend for a guy that looks like he just came out of a commercial. Daniel Jones, who's probably a Rugged Uncle user. What did you call him, Cardone?
I said, well, looking at Jones in the middle of the game on the bench, like the camera was looking at it, from the back of his head. I go, this fucking guy doesn't even sweat. He doesn't have a hair out of place. I said, this guy looks like he's in the middle of a Men's Warehouse commercial.
So for the rest of the day, everyone was calling him Men's Warehouse.
Men's Wear, right? Men's Warehouse. Look your best. Where he's adjusting the knot on his tie, looking in a fictitious mirror, like on the sidelines. Jones looks like seriously, it looks like he's in the middle of walking the floor, like what's his name from Seinfeld, the guy who was I can't remember the guy with the ponytail.
Oh, Elaine's boyfriend?
Yeah, Craig.
She was trying to get on
whatever it is.
She was
It's
trying to get on the
Craig.
flight.
So, yes.
All I know is that, I appreciate Rugged Uncle as a sponsor. I'm not going to associate Daniel Jones with Rugged Uncle and torpedo that brand, that good brand with Daniel Jones. So I can't do it.
Isn't
Well,
it
he has
funny
good
how
hair,
you
though,
like,
so that would make sense.
he does have good hair.
Yeah.
It's funny how someone that you like and support and everything, and they just go through life, you don't notice it. And the minute you start to turn on him, you're like, look at this guy, he doesn't break a sweat. Look at his beady little eyes. I don't trust a guy with beady little eyes like that. Right. The minute you start to turn on him, everything wrong.
Seriously, look at Jones. He doesn't have a bead of sweat on his head. His hair is perfect. He's in the middle of an NFL football game.
I wanted to punch Devin Tier.
Yeah, he does look like Devin Tier, but they could interview him after the game. Like, Daniel, you got blown up by Jadeveon Clowney. How does your hair stay so perfect? I use Rugged Uncle.
Rugged Uncle.
Right.
That's it.
I like it. Remember, like it here in Carolina. Remember, Dom Capers was their first coach, and he walked around the sidelines with that little notebook. And writing things down. And every Panther fan was like ecstatic about, oh, he's so detail oriented. Oh my God, this guy, he's never gonna miss a trick. Never. Like their third losing season in a row, they're like, get him out of there with that notebook. Pay attention to the game. What's he writing in the stupid notebook?
Novak,
Dom
Pet
Capers
Peeves?
reference.
I like the Don Capers reference. He was a integral part of the Panthers' history.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of pet peeves, and it was hard for me to think about which one that I want to go with this week. So when I struggle with which one to use, I start replaying the game and what got me annoyed most. And when I did that, when both the Jets and the Giants game, I thought the same thing. It was the first play of the game. It's the kickoff. And I know we've talked about our anger over this new kickoff rule, but we've not used it as a pet peeve. So I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about this kickoff, which it's the stupidest. Like, I love watching the college game, that all the fans, as they're ready to kick off the ball. And yes, the play doesn't make any sense, gets kicked in the end zone, but it's exciting and it's the start of the game. Now we've got this guy by himself 20 yards back and the players are in the middle, like looking up in the sky like a kid watching a plane, turning their heads as it goes over. And then there's this landing zone thing where we were all talking about, we don't know what happens if it lands before the landing zone and rolls into the end zone, and you can get placed on the 25, the 30, the 40. Like, the NFL has just shit the bed on this kickoff rule, and I'm annoyed at the first second of the game. I'm angry about the NFL and what they've done, taking this kickoff, which I used to love, and turned into this garbage that it has become. So yeah, I had so many, but I was like, I might as well just go with the first thing that pops in my head, which is this stupid kickoff rule, which has been a disaster in my mind. And if anyone likes it, then they're out of their minds. I think it's stupid.
I don't know who could like that.
Picture this in like any other sport. This just came to my head. I like to think about this in other scenarios. So like let's look at this in another sport. So imagine they drop the puck to start a hockey game at center ice, and yet only the fucking centers are allowed to move.
Right.
Everyone else is just standing there frozen for until they cross the blue line, and then they can. Oh shit! Now we can check the guy. Or like in basketball, the tip.
The tip off?
Only the guys who go
only
for the
the point
tip
guard
are
of the
allowed.
home team gets it.
Yeah. And no one's allowed to move until you cross. It's absurd.
Exactly.
It is absurd. You know what it reminds me of? You guys ever make up games in the street when you were a kid? It's a game like with a frisbee and a football. And if you touch there, no, that's a double goober. You can't touch in that area when you're holding the frisbee. That's what that rule reminds me of.
Yeah.
Was it the Giants game we were watching where the ball didn't land in the landing zone? It was a penalty.
Yeah.
And we were
none of us
knew what
what
happened.
happened. I don't know the rules. Watching
Landing
NFL for
zone.
50 years, I don't know rules. That's what they've done.
Think of how dumb that is. The landing zone.
Yep.
In football. We're talking about where a ball lands on a kick. And that is part of the game. That's in golf. They have the landing zone where you got to hit your drive.
Right.
I mean, come on, this is football. The landing zone. What are we doing?
Isn't the entire fucking field the landing zone? Like it's
Right?
it's
Used
just
to be.
it landed on the field somewhere.
They darken the 20 yards on the that's God,
Oh.
it's just so disgusting that we have to watch it. And the thing is, college doesn't do it, high school doesn't do it. Only the NFL has to have this
NFL.
stupid ass rule.
They have to relearn the kickoff.
Yeah,
some
come
reason.
on.
Yeah.
I know we used to complain about the kickoff. We did, and I know it was wasted, but this is not the answer. I'm sorry.
No,
There's better ways to go about this.
It's got. I mean, it was really good in the '80s. I don't know why we just don't go back to that. That was pretty perfect. The way it was. You know what no one talks about with this rule that really gets under my skin about it is like one of the greatest ballsiest calls of all time was the surprise onside that Sean Payton did in the Super
yes.
Bowl. And now it's gone. You can't do that. It's that
It won them
That's-
the Super Bowl.
Why
Let's be honest.
did
That
we
play
why,
won them
why
the Super
did we
Bowl.
get rid of that? I mean,
Yeah.
this is what this does. It gets rid of the surprise, and now when we do line up for an onside kick, it's back to the new rules too, where you can't overload one side with players. It's like, well, why not? If you're going to let people finally do an onside kick, why not let them do it the old way where they load everyone up, and then you never know what's going to happen. It almost makes it to where the point, if you're losing by more than a touchdown or at a touchdown at the end of the game, you can't come back if you score.
Yeah. I mean, if they're really worried about injury, really a much better system than this is the other team scores, they kick an extra point, you get the ball in the 25-yard line.
Yes.
That's
Agreed.
That's better. That's just
100% better.
than this. Yeah.
I'm going to go next on the pet peeves because mine I think we touched upon before, but it was particularly noticeable this week because we played the Panthers. And it's when non-sports networks, your local news people get involved in the sports discussion. And they start talking and you're like, what are you talking about, people? So, before the Giants game, the weekend announcers were like, so what do you think about the game coming up? And they talked to the weatherman. And the weatherman's like, well, he's like, this is a tough game because Jonathan Brooks is coming back for the Panthers. And, the Giants have shown sign of greatness this year. And this could be a tough game. And I'm like, first off, Jonathan Brooks is still not active. He was on the inactive list. And second of all, when have the Giants shown signs of greatness this year? Of course, they've lost some games, but the signs of greatness didn't show up. So why are we talking about this? And this happens all the time when they kick it over to the weatherman, or it could be just the regular guy. Whenever they talk about sports, stop it. You're relating to fans that don't even really care that much about the game, and you're trying to sound knowledgeable, and you just come off as really bad to the everyday fan. Secondly, I'll talk about this too. After the game, they interviewed, I think it was Maurice Jones-Drew, who said about Bryce Young, this is exactly what you want out of your number one or your starting quarterback. And if you look at Bryce Young's stats, the Panthers won the game. They've won 2 in a row now. Bryce Young, I think, threw for 125 yards passing.
Yeah.
Is this really what you want from the number one overall pick in a draft? Is this what you expect going forward and are happy with? And you're saying this on national TV? Maurice Jones-Drew, you were a great running back for the Jaguars. You wouldn't have put up with this if Mark Brunell sucked ass. This isn't what happens. You can't do this. If Bryce Young spends every game throwing for 125 yards, the Panthers are going to lose more than often than they win.
A lot more.
Like 9 out of 10 times, maybe more.
Well,
They play a
it's
real
basically
team.
what they have been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They aren't playing the fucking Giants.
Exactly.
So true.
They don't know what to say, these guys, so they just trot out something that sounds mildly positive without any substance or analysis to it. It just gets trotted out. That's it. They don't know what to say.
Yeah. Cardone, pet peeve.
So these will be, I think, quick. I have like a two-parter. It's the same thing, but just happened twice over the weekend. I've used this one before, but I think it hasn't come up in a while. And I had back-to-back Whopper experiences this weekend. So for those who might not have listened, going back to season 1, the Whopper was a like nuclear war defense like machine that could show like threats. I'm going back to the movie War Games back in 1983 with Matthew Broderick. Great movie.
Would you like to play
That
a
was a
game?
great movie.
Yeah. So
Jess?
So a couple of years ago, we were at a eating establishment trying to get the Sunday, trying to get our Giant game put on a certain TV, and it took 45 guys from NASA to kind of go over and change the channel and do all this and that. So we were at, ironically, the same eating establishment on Saturday night and to go out for college football, and really the only game we were interested in was the Penn State game. And so it wasn't on at first, and we bring one of the the staff members over, and we asked her to put on Penn State. She goes and talks to the manager. She disappears. Now it's approaching game time. We can't find her. She finally comes over. We don't have Peacock. So there we go. You talked about it earlier about these streaming services. So this place doesn't have Peacock. So here we are, 2024. You're at a sports bar and people don't have Peacock. So now we have to stream the game. It's too late to go somewhere else. So now we're streaming the fucking game on our phones. So we're watching it on a 4-inch screen instead of a large, big screen TV because this place doesn't have Peacock. So that was Saturday night. Sunday night, after we had to induce or had to induce vomiting with watching the Giants on Sunday morning. Great hosting job by Mike and Bonnie, by the way. Thank you again, guys. That was
awesome.
Fantastic and awesome. We had a Bloody Mary bar. We had a mimosa bar.
Yeah, it was
we
awesome.
had everything, you name it. So we still had a little flavor. Greg was still in town, and we decided to go out on Sunday at 4:00 to watch the 4:00 games, just to get a little flavor and get out of the house some more. And we head over to an establishment, not our favorite one, by the way, a different place. And it was an absolute battle just to get, not only, there was only 3 games on at 4. We were trying to get like a signal from space to get the Jets on one TV, the Eagle Cowboy game on another, and then the other game was the Charger game. They couldn't figure this out. It was a small place, there was only a few TVs, but it was just to try to get a couple football games on, which, by the way, I think they have a sign outside their door, watch all the games here on Sunday. They have one of those fucking things outside their door there. And then once we get the Jet game on, we got some yahoos sitting at the table next to us. I love this one. 2 guys there, and then they were waiting for like girlfriends or something like that. One of the guys has a Jet hat on. So that curiosity comes over. We were so tempted to just go up and ask the guy, like, do you care about watching the game? Like, I noticed you haven't asked to put the game on. Are you nervous that you're missing the first few, the first few plays of the, of the game? It just drives me crazy, guys, when you see, first, you can't get a game on, NFL Sunday ticket. And then secondly, you have a fan who, again, a guy could just be wearing a Jet hat and who left in the middle. Now, of course, it was a blowout by then. But this guy wasn't, didn't even care to get the game on. So still dealing with these Whopper situations and trying to get games on is it's exhausting. So I had back-to-back nights with this. Brutal.
It's
so 4:00 switch over is the worst. Nobody knows what's going on at the 4:00 changeover.
In fact,
there's only 3 games on.
We got this one, Mike. As she's trying to get the game, she's like, "Are you sure it's on? Are you sure it's on?"
Yeah.
Like one of the, yeah, no, we're sure. We're sure the game is on right now. Yeah.
They always have to hold the remote at an angle and try to get it, and they don't know what's.
We have to tell them what what channel it's on. We're going to. And I don't even have DirecTV anymore, but I'm telling you, we're literally going through it's on channel 219. I have it right here on the phone. Wait. fumbling, stumbling with the remote. Finally got it on.
That
The thing that-
changeover, man.
Yeah.
The thing that annoys me the most of that story is, as a Jet fan, don't wear a Jet hat at a bar and not care about the game.
Yeah.
Just don't put
Yeah.
the hat on.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna be a Jet fan, own it and want to watch the fucking game. Don't not care.
So after we
I
get the
hate
game
I
on,
hate hearing that.
we were looking at him to see if he would look at the game, and not
He doesn't
once did he
care.
pick his head up and even watch one single play. So it's like, well, what do you like? Why the hat? What are you doing out? Like,
And if you
Don't-
really
yeah.
don't care, why would you wear a Jet hat? Wear a Chiefs hat.
something.
Why be a loser, but not even by choice?
One of the first
Stop
times we
it.
went to Charleston when we moved down here, it was a Sunday, and I said to Steph, I'm going to go out and watch the game. We'll go out and do something afterwards. And she's like, okay. So I found a bar that was supposedly a Giants bar in Charleston. I went down there, and the guy sitting next to me, Giants jersey on, Giants hat, sit down. I'm like, oh, great. I'm, among my people and stuff like that. We turned the game on, and it was an opening day game against the Redskins, if you remember this, years ago. I can't even remember the year. And Strahan returns a touchdown. He gets a fumble recovery for a touchdown during that game. Giants ended up winning. But I'm sitting there watching this. We're going nuts over the touchdown. The guy looks at me and goes, hey, who's number 92?
Oh.
I laughed. I was like, no, he said, no, who's 92? I said, it's Michael Strahan.
Our best player.
Who's 92? Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Who's
So
92?
you get this kind of stuff out there, and it's like the guy was older than I was at the time, and I'm like thinking to myself, who are you? What's going
Brutal.
on?
Just
Yeah.
brutal.
The day of the original Whopper experience, if you guys will remember, the Panthers were also on at 4.
They were.
But
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people with Panther hats and jerseys on. They do not
Yes.
have that game on, and nobody's saying a word,
word.
about.
We were barking
We're-
at them for not right. Remember that? It was
Yeah. We were just going nuts because they couldn't get the Giant game on because the game before it went into overtime, and we're like hounding the lady, and she finally gets it on for us. Still no Panther game at all, and nobody said a
No.
thing.
no one's saying a
Like-
word.
25 Cam Newton jerseys in there at least. Not one person. Oh,
Right,
they'll get to it when they figure it out.
Pet peeve, Mike?
Yes, my pet peeve. I believe I've had this pet peeve before, but I'm going a totally different angle this time at it. My pet peeve is that abomination in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium. So that stadium, I had to look it up, is opened in 2009. So that means it's 15 years old.
We know who opened it up.
Yeah, Eli won the first game in that
right.
stadium.
Yeah.
Signed the wall. So yeah, some history there. But 15 years that stadium's been around. And in week 10 of 2024, we finally realized there's a glare on the field. Like and everyone's wringing their hands about getting curtains or something for the stadium.
Right.
I'm like, what are you talking? The stadium's been around for 15 years. How are we just discovering this? Did the sun? I think if the sun moved, we have a much bigger problem than the glare at AT&T Stadium. So all of a sudden, no one can see inside the stadium after 15 years of this abomination out there that doesn't even resemble a football stadium at all. But yeah, where now the Dallas fans are just pounding the table for Jerry to cover up the windows, and it's because CeeDee Lamb lost the ball in the lights. It's a huge issue now. It's a great big thing. By the way, I did check. The stadium has never been renovated, so it's not like they changed something that this year let the light in. So no, it's the Cowboys just noticed on week 10 of 2024 that they have a glare problem in their stadium.
What's funny about that, Mike, is they've asked Jerry this week a couple of times about his plans for reducing the glare. And he's like, no, we have no plans. And people are like, what? And like you said, it's like it's been this way since it opened. This is the only this is the first high profile incident I could think of. And it really wasn't an incident. I mean, there was one play that CeeDee Lamb like just missed the catch on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's not a widespread thing.
No. And during the game, that they put the cameras at just the right angle. Here's the glare that the Cowboys are looking at when they're, never mind that CeeDee Lamb is looking back for the ball. So the Cowboys are moving in this direction. So they weren't worried that it was bothering the other team who was driving into the glare. That's no big deal. Like the quarterback's blinded. No, it's CeeDee Lamb missed a pass, so it's a huge problem now. Use it to your advantage. The Cowboys, mid-afternoon, the light's going to go down. So if you win or lose the coin toss or whatever, pick which direction you're going to go.
Know what direction you're going, yeah.
Yeah, use it to your advantage.
Or do what they used to do at the old Giants Stadium, where the myth was that they used to open some tunnel door and the wind would blow harder if your team was going against the wind. Like just close the drapes, when on certain plays or whatever, like close the blinds.
Have a team
Apparently
there.
They put drapes in there for like soccer games and things like that. That's what they were talking about.
Yeah, I found that really funny this week when everyone was bitching about it. I was just like, wait a minute, how long has that stadium been there? Why is it a problem the week after daylight savings in 2024? All right.
So we do have a few questions this week. Peacock has quite a few, and they're good ones. And he asked at number 1 whether the Giants or the Jets are there. Do we consider trading it? And I would say this. I would consider trading out of the number 1 spot down to number 4. And that's about it. I wouldn't go any lower than that. If you go to number 4, you probably get another number 1, number 2, or something like that. And you still could probably get the guy you want. Other than that, I think keep it.
I would trade out with one caveat. Promise me that you're taking Shedeur Sanders, because I want nothing to do with this guy and this clown show that would come with it. So you want to trade to get him? That's fine. I'll go back to 3 and I'll grab Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, or one of these other quarterbacks. That is totally fine. I want nothing to do with him.
Spot on. Spot on. I would have said the same. I couldn't agree more than that. I do not want Sanders. And it would have to be, to Scott's point, no way do I want to fall or take a spot lower than maybe 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah, that's it.
If I could get a second number 1 the following year,
correct,
and not have to take Shedeur Sanders, done.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I think the Giants could trade out of there because, assuming it's 1 or 2, because whatever team that is probably trading up for Sanders. And that could serve the Giants very well because, we know the Giants, we know their history. We know they don't like, these spotlight players and the superstar rookies. I think the chances of the Giants actually drafting Shedeur Sanders are really low unless a lot of things have changed at Giants headquarters. He's just not a Giants player.
I don't feel like anything changes at headquarters.
Yeah. And I just don't think his talent is so generational that you'd be like, it doesn't even matter. Like, we have to have this guy. I still like Jackson Dart. So I might take a chance and go a little bit further back, get more picks, go further back and cross your fingers for Jackson Dart.
Well, you have done well with Ole Miss quarterbacks.
Yes.
The one we had.
I am terrified of the Jets drafting Shedeur Sanders and bringing Dion as the I'm terrified of that because they have a history of whether it's Tim Tebow, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. I am terrified of this situation.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Jets, Rodgers is a $49 million cap hit next year. Mm-hmm. Do you cut him? Do you eat it? What do you do? That's what Peacock wants to know.
I would encourage him to retire because I don't know how that works if you have a retiring player. I don't believe that's a cap hit if they retire. But I honestly don't know the answer to that question. But the only way I would want him back is if he could be a hold the fort 1-year guy for a quarterback that we draft, and he's okay with that. It's different than the Jordan Love situation. But if he was good with that, and maybe we can get this organization turned around, maybe make the playoffs, and then groom a quarterback like the Chiefs do with Patrick Mahomes. I could see that. But other than that, I want him gone. I don't want to put up with this guy again.
And then Peacock asks if Thanksgiving Day is going to be the worst game in history. It will most likely not be worse than the Giants-Jets game than last year, but
No.
it could be, at least from a Thanksgiving Day game, pretty bad.
Oh, it'll rival whatever the worst Thanksgiving Day game is all time.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a bunch of Lions clunkers.
There's
over the
been a
years.
lot, yeah. There's been a lot of bad Lions games over the years.
Yeah.
It's going to be just unwatchable stuff, really.
And then
Every Giants game from here on out has the potential to devolve into this non-football,
I mean,
rugby.
there's a chance it could be a Trey Lance, Danny DeVito Thanksgiving game.
Oh,
I mean, think about it. It's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
did you hear what that sounded like? I mean,
Yeah. Exactly. Trey
Oh.
Lance and Danny DeVito.
oh my God. Oh.
And then Novak's friend sent in a podcast or a question. He's asking if there are any positives to take from this season at all, and he said we can't say none. For me, there's been a couple of positives in this season. For me, the positive has been that the offensive line has grown over time with Carmen Basilio, and the second thing is Tyrone Tracy Jr. Amazing possible talent going forward. And I think Mike mentioned this when we lost Barkley and said the impact of losing Barkley is not going to be as much as we think. And I think if you look at the stats, at least, with Tyrone Tracy being there and Singletary playing really well, we haven't lost a whole lot with Barkley being gone.
Now, Philly gained more than we lost. I know that, but nobody's going to see it that way. I mean, none of our guys are backwards hurtling people out on the field, so we're not going to. Yeah, those are the first two things I thought of, Scott. I thought of the offensive lines finally achieving where they are now, which is just kind of average, but that is huge for us to see that. And then, of course, Tyrone Tracy's been outstanding. He could have a bigger impact on this team than Neighbors in years to come.
Well, yeah, that's where I was going to go. I was going to go right to the unexpected and surprising good play of Tyrone Tracy. Wasn't expecting that. Malik Neighbors, of course, I know he's cooled off since the first few weeks of the season, but he's dealing with injuries and concussions and that kind of bullshit. And then, of course, on the other side of the ball, Sexy Dexy. His play he's been solid and pretty consistent every week. So a couple standout players here and there, and that's about. Other than that, that's it.
For the Jets, after you go, after quarterback, coach, and GM, the three next most important positions in my mind in today's NFL is left tackle, wide receiver, and corner. And so the Jets have a number one pick in Olu Fashanu at left tackle, and then you've got Garrett Wilson and Soft Gardner. And if Soft can turn it around and learn how to tackle, those are three cornerstones that you can take away for building blocks for the future. So that's the positive I take out of the Jet talent that we have. But other than that, there's not a lot.
You guys got anything else tonight?
No, I just want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed watching you all enjoy the Giant game on Sunday, and it was great to get to know Cardone's brother, Greg.
Yeah.
I sort of knew him back in the days of Lincroft, but he's a good dude, and he's a freaking riot. He is so funny. So
he's
got to
great.
get him on the pod again.
I've actually gotten to meet Greg in Jersey, and we went to the Giants-Vikings championship game together too.
Talk about a great goose. That's the great goose of all great
Great
goose.
goose of all great
in
goose.
person.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't sit down for the entire first half. Greg's also been down to Charlotte a few times, but what I love about Greg is his passion. He always has the enthusiasm going on. And I still remember those guys pulling up at tailgates because they came to most of the Giant games here in Carolina.
Oh yeah.
They'd rent a van or they'd rent a car and things like that, and people would show up at the tailgates. Always great to see Greg pop into town. So
Yeah.
No doubt.
I meant to tell it on Sunday, but I didn't get a chance. The first time I ever met Greg in person, I went over to Cardone's house to watch the Giants, and they got beat by somebody. I think it was kind of a close game, but we were kind of down and out. And so, I got the remote after the game, and I put the Vikings game on, and the Vikings were like in a position to take a knee, but they didn't. And Adrian Peterson had like a 60-yard touchdown run when they were like already ahead by a score or something. And I'm like, yes. And Greg's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I said, I had money on the Vikings -7 today. So that I was like thrilled, to get that to happen. He like tried to throw me out of Chris's house. He's like, get this guy out of here. Get this guy out of here.
That's great.
He was mad. He was mad that I was happy.
I tell you, one good thing. So I want to go back to the question of like anything good out of this season. Yes, if the Giants, well, we know we're going to end up in last place. If the Panthers finish in last place in the NFC South, the Giants will be in Charlotte, pending the NFL scheduling Amazon assholes, and they may put him in fucking Belize or somewhere next year,
Yeah.
wherever the NFL decides to put another international
The Lebanon game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if the Giants, because the NFC South plays at we play at the NFC South. So if the Panthers finish in last, we will. The Giants will be here in Charlotte next year, so we have that to look forward to. And maybe we'll rent that van again and do whatever. So yeah, come on down, boys.
We've become New Orleans fans for the rest of the year. Then is that pretty much
No
how
doubt.
that rolls out?
Yeah.
anything else tonight, guys? All right. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk about quite a few things because the Jets will have played a game against the Colts. The Giants will be back in action. We'll probably know at that point who they're starting at quarterback, and we'll see how the season goes from there. So we are the three Angry Giant fans and the Jets fans. It's your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan, Novak. And guys, love having you, even in Helsinki, Finland, and where else you watch us from.
No doubt.
Yeah. If that